Thank you all for being here. I want to welcome everybody to this workshop of Temple City Council. It is March 20th, 2025, currently 3 p.m. No public comments. So first item under the work session is to discuss any regular meeting agenda items. So anybody have anything, council or staff?
Question,
Oh,
I've got just one item. It's an appeal for an I-35 sign, McDonald's.
okay.
I'm happy to quickly go over it if you've got any questions. But yeah, it's not a particularly long presentation.
Would you mind?
Don't mind at all.
Would you mind here?
I do.
A quick overview.
Sorry.
That's right. I'll throw you on your hand.
Yeah. We were recording. Yeah.
Okay, I want it on record.
All right, good afternoon. As I mentioned, this is for McDonald's. And so Bel Air Commercial Subdivision, there's Burger King and Starbucks and drawing a blank. Taco Bell, thank you. Yes. So those are often together. And here it is, it's over 600 feet from the right of way, so from General Bruce. So a little unusual. We don't typically have that situation. You know, with your typical shopping centers, of course, you got pad sites like Bird Creek Crossing, and then you've got big box retail, but this is all pad sites. So kind of stacked. And so in our standards, 25 to 35 feet based on the setback, so up to 35 feet for a pylon sign, regardless of location in the overlay, 200 square feet max. That's just their sign plan. So here you can see where, it'd be located pretty close to the property line.
But that's on the loop, right? Right.
It's
Below that is the loop.
so it's
Oh, that's
yeah,
on
so
the inner
it
road.
is, but that is a ton of right of way.
It's on the inner.
Yeah. And so they've asked for 75 feet. We've been working with them to say, look, do you really need 75? Show us. Here's what they've actually come back with, what we've recommended, but they based it on a flag or balloon test, so you could actually see from different vantage points, whether you could see 50 feet, whether you could see 75. And so here you can see that, okay, 75 feet near Buc-ee's. Yeah, you can clearly see that, but you can see it at 50 as well.
And Buc-ee's is how tall is their sign?
90.
Yeah.
So
It's a big
Buc-ee's had a
See, I
plan
think from
development. Yeah, what's that?
You can see it from Troy.
Yes, you can. So Buc-ee's is kind of in its own category. Yeah, it's not in the overlay category in any way. So in our general standards for signage, the maximum height is 50 feet. And so that's what we're recommending. They've agreed to that. But we've also agreed to the square footage that they're requesting, 279 feet. You do the math, ratio of 200 versus 279, basically at going from 35 to 50 feet, that if you give a proportional amount of square footage, that'd be 280. So they're right there. And so just going back to what does it look like? To us, that looks very proportional and meets the intent. But of course, the real intent of signage is to be able to see it. With that said, I also want to point out that we're looking at in the UDC update with signage, we're looking at having a different standard just for the overlay, in which you get kind of a bonus based on distance from I-35. And that would mainly address these other sites in the future. So maybe this one would be 45 and this one would be 50, 45, 45, 50, Don't know, we're just looking at that now. So just so that we won't see, 4 more appeals in the future here or elsewhere in the overlay. So That's kind of it in a
So
nutshell.
they are agreeable to that?
Yes. As far as I know, I think representative is supposed to be there. I'm not sure if she'll be there in person or via Zoom, but yeah. they're-
And P&Z staff's recommendation
Mhm.
of 50.
The signage, can you back up to the picture, the fine drawings? That, how do they is that 200 and that square footage, is that based on that thing being a rectangle? Or is that
Rectangle.
the face of the M counted?
Yeah, it's a rectangle. So it's not the negative base, that gets a little tricky to.
Okay,
And it's 50 feet over, I'm looking at your schematic there, it's 50 feet overall to the top of the M.
Yes, so this is the recommended and agreed upon 50 foot versus 75. There's a little guy. He's still little, but not quite so.
Yeah, I think a staggered approach makes sense too for those other opportunities.
yeah, I do too.
What about coming from the other way? Coming from the RV park toward the,
Let's see, we
I
don't.
mean, I just put the proportion there.
Right, so that elevation is a little higher there. Richard, does that sound about right?
Into McDonald's side, so.
Yeah. So from the
RV park
RV
side.
side, heading west on the loop,
Yeah.
towards Bucky's. Very easy.
Yeah.
We don't have a photo.
You'll have to look up to see the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and that, once we get into the UDC amendments, and just to give y'all a heads up, something that we're looking at is at least taking signage as a early first phase of adoption, because, rather than just taking all the UDC at one time, that, I think there are lots of concerns about signage, but that's also one that's kind of lower hanging fruit in terms of, and we're further along than, in the drafting of those amendments with the consultant, but, that way it can address places like 317. I know there've been a lot of concerns about what that signage could look like.
So you are looking at some overlay districts in.
Well, yeah, so those are,
Right now.
so we've got corridor master plans that would address everything else. But for signage to say, look, that can address a lot of concerns around town, it's fairly, fairly standard and, I'm not gonna say non-controversial, because, the business owners it could be, but, it's easier to tackle than some of the other standards.
I tell you, I've gotten, when I've mentioned it to some property owners, it's controversial, but
Sure. Yep.
that doesn't mean I'm not for it.
Any other questions?
I think that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may point out as well, there, item number C on your consent agenda is the related to purchasing various vehicles. That is on the consent agenda because the Johnson Brothers Ford and Don Ringler are two local bidders, were actually the low bidders on those vehicles. So it's just on the consent agenda because you don't need to make any decisions about local preference options because they already were the local. But on your regular agenda, item number 6, there are a total of 5 vehicles that are subject to the local preference policy considerations. That our local vendors were not the low bidder, but are within 5% of the low bidder, which provides you the opportunity to consider whether the combination of price and other economic development factors about keeping the money local makes you feel like the better decision is to go with the local vendor. So that is on your regular agenda, just as a reminder. Council has an adopted policy where staff defaults to recommend the low bidder, but then you have the opportunity to consider and make findings in a different direction if you feel like that makes sense. I know that Belinda and her team, I'm sorry, it might have been Jana, I'm not sure who did it, but we do have prepared motion language for you for the different opportunities, whether you want to go all low bid, all local preference, or on a beach.
And all four of these are within 5% of the local.
One section was 4 vehicles, 4 half-ton vehicles, and then one section was
Oh, okay.
1 ton, I believe.
Okay, so all five are within.
All 5 are within local preference. If you take the local preference option on all 5, it would be about I think it's like a $9,100 or something like that, different. And I do think it's of note. I think that Belinda and her team did worked really hard with our local vendors to make sure that they were aware of the bidding opportunities, and pestered them a lot about, make sure you submit bids. And I celebrated 17 years of working for the city on Monday. And in that time frame, we have never had an opportunity to consider all of our vehicle purchases in a year to local vendors. This would be the first time, if of course you chose to do local preference on those 2 that you have the opportunity to do. That would be the first time that I'm aware of that we've been able to do that. So that's kind of notable. And Tracy, I was just talking about local preference and
Yes.
giving kudos to Belinda and her team for
Is
working
she on
hard. And then also, obviously, our local vendors too for coming to the table with competitive bids.
Yeah.
So I noticed that Ringler didn't add in a certain item for one of those. Is that, are those, they're given all of the details, correct? And then it breaks down like a headrest or something like that, that got skipped from Ringler that Johnson Brothers did bid on.
Okay.
And they said they didn't get that number back until after the bid was due or something like that. So that kind of knocked them out.
They weren't responsive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know
Yeah,
the
I think
details of that, and I'm not sure.
Kirk and Randy are both on,
Yes.
if they could, I'm not sure,
I think they,
but Belinda's on.
yeah, Randy or Kirk and them.
Randy or Kirk, do you know the circumstances around the responsiveness related to maybe an option?
Yes, ma'am. One of them was that they hadn't bid on a headache rack that was required, and I think that was the same case on the other one too.
Yes, that's correct, that they just didn't bid on it. They must have missed it. We did go back to him after the fact saying, did you miss it or was it supposed to be, an included add-on? And they did say that they missed it and they sent in pricing after the fact, after bids were already open. So we couldn't accept it by that time.
Yeah, I was just thinking if we go with the local bidder on the other with Johnson Brothers, it might be nice to be able to do some with Ringler as well, but we gotta play by the rules, so that's fine. Thank you, I appreciate it.
And Jenny, you have the language for them.
Thank you, Jen.
Anything else?
So when we make that motion, are we letting you know if you want to do it, or are you gonna go for each motion?
So you will have 2 different decision points on the regular agenda. So the way that the local preference law works is that if the local vendor is not the lowest bidder, but is within 5% of the lowest bidder, then you have the opportunity to select the local vendor for that award if you feel like, otherwise the economic benefit, kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, makes up for the fact that it's a little bit higher purchase price. But you cannot, if you have more than one local vendor, you can't choose, you can't pick and choose, like, I'm gonna do this one for one and this one for, it has to be the next lowest local bidder, if that makes sense.
Do we want to go over the PowerPoint, just the summary? Or wait to the meeting?
So I think this is your first time to go through the local preference piece, so why don't we go ahead and go through the PowerPoint?
Selection.
And I may, we will have, I'm sorry, I missed at the beginning, but you will have the motion language in front of you. And I'll go through this quickly and get to the back. But, just an overview on February 11th, 9 vendors submitted bids for 8 independent vehicle bids. 15 vehicles and not on consent agenda. Brent went over the 10 vehicles, award of 3 of them to Johnson Brothers Ford for $131,479, award of 7 vehicles to Don Ringler for $353. And then regular agenda item number 6 is vehicles with local preference options. Council adopted a local preference policy, competitive sealed bid, expenditures less than 500,000, local bidders located within the city limits. Local bidder submits local preference declaration. And then the local bidder's bid is within 5% of the lowest bid received. That's where you can, I say invoke the local preference. Staff will always recommend the low bids for award. Council determines whether the local vendor offers the best combination of price and additional economic development opportunities. And tonight with the local preferences, you have bid A, a half-ton full-size regular cab, 8-foot bed, 4x2 pickups, 4 of them. The low bid was Olaf Ford Sales from Kansas with varying vehicle options for $168,894. And then Johnson Brothers bid was $176. And then on bid E, you have the other regular cab truck, Randall Reed's Planet Ford 365 of Garland. Bid was $76,152, and Johnson Brothers was $77,944. And if you take the local option on the first, the difference is $7,318, but it's within 4.33% below the 5%. And again, staff would recommend the Randalls at $76,152. And that difference between the local vendor is $1,792, 2.3%, within 2.3. And these are your options, and you'll have a handout in front of you. Option 1, no local preference award to the Olaf and Randalls. Option 2, award local preference on both bids, A and E. And number 3 would be bid A to Johnson Brothers, no local preference on bid E. And the option 4 would be local on bid A and no local on bid A and award local on bid E to Johnson Brothers.
Basically, I think I know the answer to this. We don't pay tax, correct?
No, we don't.
So we're not getting back sales tax because we're buying local, because we're not paying.
Right. That is correct, right, Randy?
That's correct.
Yeah. I didn't want to make sure what's something different on vehicle.
Anyway, we don't get sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought like 6 1/4. on
6 1/4, yeah.
vehicles today.
Fun fact. During this happy legislative season.
So any questions there?
So you have to take the bid sections in totality. So bid A, you have to choose the same, you would have to do the same thing for all 4 vehicles. So either all 4 have to be purchased from Olathe Ford, or all 4 have to be purchased from Johnson Brothers. And then bid E, which it's only 1 vehicle, but it can be from Randall Reed or Johnson Brothers. But those 2 decisions can be made independently, if that makes sense.
So, when that person makes the motion, are they saying, I move option 1 or 2 or 3? So then we need to have that decision,
There's-
which option you're looking at.
Motion.
Yeah, somebody will make the motion.
You
That's
make
so the language,
Well,
it does
motion.
take specialized.
Pull up that
So
Word
that
document.
language,
Motion.
that basically there's a piece of paper. It says if you choose local option, then you read this. They give us a script. Makes it pretty easy.
So my question is, are we choosing now what option we would make that motion on? Or are we gonna
No,
talk
we-
about that in
We,
public?
we traditionally choose the local option. Because the local dealer, Johnson Brothers Ford, they're here. They pay sales, they pay, property tax here. They have employees here. So, because part of the decision is about local economic development. Right?
Understand
so-
that part.
I think
So,
your question
My
is.
question
saying
is, are we
when-
just gonna?
When and where are we making the decision?
Somebody's going to
Who
say,
makes
I'll
the
make a
motion?
motion, and then they read
And we do,
the no local preference or the local preference, or actually, I guess all four options.
and we have to read all of that.
Yeah,
Like we do on
you do.
some of the other
You do not
tax
have
cases and
to,
stuff.
you cannot make the formal decision here, because this meeting, you can't have any action, it's not posted for action. But if you wanna have some conversation about the pros or cons or the merits of that, I think that's appropriate, in here. So you have to reserve your your final decision for downstairs. But if y'all wanted to have some conversation about kind of what your thoughts are and what, and who were
That was my question.
considering, that would definitely be appropriate for this meeting.
So it's, I think that on Tracy, what you just showed, it showed like a $7,600 difference. And Brent said something like 90, so I don't know which one of those is, but it's still within 5%
It's the two combined.
combined,
That
so
was
6,
9100.
yeah, so 74
Yeah.
and 17, yeah.
And I think what Brian was pointing out, the option, the bid E is on one vehicle. And the bid A is four.
So the question that I think though that has to be answered and you have to answer for yourself is by choosing the local company to purchase from, does the city of Temple get $7,300 worth of economic development prosperity? And because of that business being here and because of that, we want to continue to support them. Even if it costs the city another $7,400, they give the city $7,400 or more in economic development. Again, they employ people here. They pay tax on their facility. Their facilities pay tax on their homes. Everyone buys locally, et cetera. And ultimately, is all that worth spending an extra $7,300 to continue to encourage that?
Totally agree. I just wanted to know how I was thinking.
Okay. All right.
For discussion, I've paid more myself to shop local.
Mhm.
I definitely think it's good for the city.
Yeah. Agreed.
And the other one's in Olathe, Kansas. So we already.
We already have one of those.
Yeah, I don't know if we need it.
An old retread, old rebuilt.
I think
worn
we're
out.
gonna go pick it up, though. His family or something.
That's the other chief.
Yeah, cheap rentals came from
Yeah,
there.
probably the two of us
But
might
you're kind of on the way.
we could probably work something out. They turns driving.
Did I pronounce that right?
Olathe.
Olathe. Olathe.
How many vehicles we can take our wives?
Load 'em up.
Exactly.
That's right. Good, okay. Councilmember Grant, you good with that, all that?
Oh, yeah.
Good? Okay. All right, next item is, to receive the City Temple Boards and Commissions Annual Report.
All right, here we are again, even though that says 2024, it is 2025. I may or may not have been running a fever when I was doing this presentation, so this might not be the only mistake. Y'all should.
There's no gunshot.
There's no gunshots. I learned my lesson. Y'all should know the drill by now. Twice a year, as you're making boards and commissions appointments, then we bring you the annual report for those boards. You have it in front of you. Each report includes a cover letter, activity summary, their work plan and their goals, any recommendations, as well as their attendance and any other information. So we're divided into two groups. You'll see this presentation every March and September for your dates that start April 1st and October 1st. So for this report, you're gonna see Building and Standards Commission, Development Standards Advisory Board, Historic Preservation Board, Library Advisory Board, Neighborhood Revitalization, Parks and Rec, and Zoning Board of Adjustments. Just a few quick stats. There's 7 boards in this cycle. They held 51 meetings by 52 board members that cover those 7. So very active boards. Getting into Building and Standards Commissions, they had 5 hearings and saw 16 cases. 13 property owners received orders to demo, and 4 property owners received orders to secure. Their goals and work plan is just to continue to hear cases, continue to seek demo orders and secure orders, as well as continue looking into placing liens on properties for demo costs that were paid for by general funds, not paid for by federal grant funds. Development Standards Advisory Board meets only as needed. There is no meeting held in the last 12 months. Their goal continues to be to elect a chairperson and approve the annual report if they meet. Mike, you got any questions?
Comments.
All right. Historic Preservation Board, they received preservation information and training presentation, as well as COA updates. They collaborated with local and state stakeholders to host the Bird Creek Battle and Indian Battle Ceremony, as well as partnered with the County Historical Commission to put up some signage out there, and you'll see those 2 photos. That's the mayor there unveiling the monument, as well as some folks looking at the signage, the panels that are depicting the Bird Creek Battle. They also held several community engagement meetings to kick off the historic resource survey and promoted National Preservation Month. Their current activities is a comprehensive amendment of Chapter 17, and also continue the process of becoming a designated DLG through the Texas Historical Commission. Their goals and work plan is to budget for additional historic preservation activities, such as ones that they're already doing. I think it's coming up in April, the photo and paint contest that they host each year. Also to coordinate and provide training for their members and create a preservation grant opportunities program for our local historic sites and landmarks.
Yep, this one that's absent in yellow, are we appointing someone for that? Did they?
Let me see.
Some guy's in yellow because he's been absent forever. It says that I just didn't know, is that one of the ones we're appointing today? Or?
He's actually already off the board. If you'll see the dots out beside him.
Okay, so that's past.
Yeah, so their attendance, it will overlap somewhat of what our cycle is.
Okay.
And so he went off the board in, it looks like July of 24. I'm sure, I'd have to look for sure. I'm sure he's been somebody's, yeah, it looks like Chris Limley is probably who took his place. But I'll double check for sure.
That was my question. We're not leaving the board with an empty
No,
spot.
no. All your appointments that you did on Monday
We'll fill every.
will fill, yeah. I think with the exception of the 2 or 3 that y'all know aren't being filled.
We had a couple of alternate positions on ZBA.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, Mike, I'll double check, but it does look like Chris Limley is probably who took his place. He was absent until, he was off the board because of absences, but then you waited until October 1st to make that appointment, and that's when Chris came on.
That answers my question.
Yeah. So Library Advisory Board, they updated and improved the library card policy by establishing a resident and a non-resident card, which I was happy for because I'm a non-resident. So I have a Temple Library card now. Updated and improved the library's master fee schedule. Updated and improved the library's meeting room policy, as well as approving the library's collection development policy. And their work plan is just to continue to look at and update policies as needed. The Neighborhood Revitalization Advisory Board is a very active board. They received feedback and gave recommendation for all of the neighborhood planning processes, as well as the Love Where You Build program, the Neighborhood Improvement Grant Program, and the Landlord Engagement Program. They also reviewed the Love Your Neighborhood program and the prioritization of neighborhood projects. And they also support at the various kickoff events and public forums that the organization holds. The board will continue to work on their goals and work plans, in particularly the neighborhood planning programs, as well as the homelessness and mental health strategic plan and any future neighborhood plans. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, they receive a lot of presentations. So their external presentations from external groups that they received was from the Temple Youth Baseball Association, Pros Consulting, Dr. John Ashbury, LF Sloan Consulting Group. Just to get off of boards and commissions for a second, interject my own opinion. That was a fascinating presentation. That was one of my most favorite presentations I have ever heard in a city council meeting. I thought it was really neat. Syntex Storm Youth Soccer Association. They also received division updates from Parks, Salmons Golf, Recreation, the Mayborn Center Administrative, and they recommended to City Council the Salmons Golf Course golf cart, not gold cart. I'm so sorry. Rental rate increase.
It was a special card.
It is. Very. That's how we make, that's why Salmons is in black now. These gold parts. Their internal presentations were the May 24 storm damage, places and spaces, capital improvement program. They continue to review policies and fees, as well as designation of the Central Youth Softball Association, Temple Youth Baseball Association. Their goals and work plans to continue to review any fee recommendations, as well as approve local sports association annual reports and the places and spaces CIP. Your zoning board of adjustment held 6 meetings, 7 cases, 4 were granted, 2 denied, and 1 withdrawn. And they actually provided, and I thought this was a neat report they provided this year of the cases that were brought before them. You can see there was 3 in District 1, 2 in District 2, 3 in District 1, and 4 in District 1. And then the other will tell you what those variance types were. From front yard setback was by far the most requested, but you can see the others up there as well. So I really like that graph that they provided this year for their cases. And that's it. Do I have any questions?
Kevin Beaver's votes for you to get a raise.
I agree.
What?
Kevin wants Liz to get a raise.
Oh. No questions. I just, we did those interviews Monday or Tuesday?
Monday.
Yeah. And, we discussed during those interviews how, the new process of taking the time, City Secretary's office doing a good job of advertising, across the social media platforms, et cetera, that we're accepting applications. We interviewed 20-ish, I think. And we have, what council discussed during that time is how we're, the group of interviewees is changing. It's a younger group. It's folks that we've not heard from before. They've not served before. And that's really what that's the purpose of doing the interview process and the advertising is to get people out there to help them find where they want to serve, put them in the right spot. And so hopefully, we're building the, future leaders of the city of Temple. So I just want to say thank you again to the city manager's office and to city secretary's office. One city manager actually coming up with the idea of doing his interview because
Forcing
it
you.
is- well, but you know what? It's made a ton of difference because we used to just get this packet of paper, right? And then we would go around the table and say, who do you know? Or who do you know? We'll stick so-and-so on the library board who gives 0 cares about the library, but we would do that.
Yeah.
And then that's how we ended up getting the same people on the same board
It's a
year
much
after year.
better.
So much better.
It's
And-
really humbling to hear from people that just want to give back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We decided it's not just, we're just not the crazy ones that are volunteering our
Yeah.
time. Other people are just as crazy as we
Yeah.
are.
Well, we have a
maybe
welcoming
not
process to do that now.
Yeah.
And that's great. And it's not thrilling. It's not my favorite 2 days of the year, but it's worth it. So, yeah, thank y'all for the extra work that goes into that very much.
And
And
I'll say, I told council this Monday, but, Mayor David Lee from Belton now serves on our airport board. He loved the process so much that he asked his Belton City Secretary to reach out to me to get a copy of our policy and procedures because they're gonna start doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
good testament
that's good.
to
That's good.
how it's working.
Very good. I jumped ahead, earlier and we moved on to the report, but Breen, you had one.
I have one more thing, if I could go back to the regular agenda. It's actually on the consent agenda. I just wanted to highlight one more item. This is Item B on the regular agenda, on the consent agenda. This is related to a request for you all to authorize a temporary moratorium on the enforcement of a section of our code of ordinances related to hauling, collection and hauling of commercial construction and demolition debris, and essentially allowing private sector roll-off companies to provide service to our community. We're requesting this for a period of 120 days while we do a more comprehensive evaluation and bring back, I don't want to say permanent because nothing is permanent, but more long-term recommendations for your consideration. And I know that this was something that several of you brought up. I wanted to highlight that we are requesting that moratorium today. And then we will continue to work over the next few months to bring back a comprehensive solution for your consideration.
Is that something that we should highlight by pulling it and putting on the regular agenda, or do you think it's good just to have it in there and move forward?
That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because I know it was something that is of interest, so.
I don't have a problem highlighting. Good to let people know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike and I were kind of in the thick of it, so, yeah, we love that.
For the,
That's correct. So did you say V like,
V is in Victor.
okay, like you said, V.
Yeah, I would.
He's about to solve it.
Fixing another truck. New trucks, I'm not gonna know what to do. Not today.
all right, next item, I am all over the place. Can you get back? Item 3 is to receive a briefing regarding the capital projects anticipated for funding through the proposed combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation series 2025 and utility system revenue bonds series 2025. Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. There is actually a associated action item related to this presentation on your agenda tonight as well. It's item number 3, which is a bond item. Tracy is gonna present that item in our regular meeting and request your consideration of authorizing the issuance of, or the publication of our notice of intention to issue certificate of obligations. And I asked her if I could have the opportunity to kind of just give you all an overview of the actual projects that we're proposing, that action item, that bond issuance would allow us to move forward with and fund. So that this is related to an item on your agenda tonight. She'll go over the details of that with you, but ultimately the actual authorization of the COs themselves, assuming you approve our moving forward this evening, that will actually come back to City Council on May 15th, I believe, the second meeting in May, for actually authorizing the issuance of those bonds. And at that same time, you will also have the opportunity to authorize the issuance of the utility revenue bond. So tonight, agenda item just is related to the COs, but I'm gonna give to this workshop presentation covers both the COs and the URs because that will come in May. Both of them will come to the same meeting in May. So, Mayor and I had an opportunity to give a presentation yesterday on the state of the city, and I pulled a slide from there. Just as a way of background, you all know that we are a growing community. We are one of the fastest growing communities in the United States. Our 2025 projected population has exceeded 100,000. Which means that we have a lot of work to do in terms of capital to meet the needs of that growing community, to make sure that we're investing in the projects that we need to ensure that we're ready to provide the infrastructure and the services in support of that growth. You all have seen this slide before. We have over $500,000 in capital projects, $500 million of projects underway. As we sit today, and then in our 6-year plan, in our business plan, we have another about the same, a little bit more than $500 million in capital projects that are planned within the 6-year time frame. So some of the projects that I want to highlight today are kind of in this area where we're moving and what projects we would like to see funding issued for so that we can move forward with the construction of those projects. So we have 2 programs tonight, again, related to certificate of obligations. And so there's projects related to both our facilities and our equipment capital programs, which is very heavy this cycle on public safety needs. And then we have a few projects that we're ready to advance from our mobility capital program. And then again, not on tonight's agenda, but will be a partner to the ultimate CO item in May is a fairly healthy number of projects related to our utility capital program. So starting highlights from our facilities and equipment, what the COs would be issued to fund. So first of all, the first major project in the facilities capital program is related to the next phase of our public safety training center. We have already begun this project through you all support. We already have the driving skills pad completed, as well as the simunition shoot house and the covered trailer parking. But this next phase of the project would be really what you see kind of in the number 5 and 6 there on the bottom part of the screen, which is the additional classroom building for our police training needs, as well as the indoor range and evidence storage building. That project, or that phase of that project is, I believe, 28 million of the total. So it is the single largest project recommended in the package. Just as a reminder, the facility that we're replacing.
I'm sorry, that's for classrooms and evidence storage?
The indoor range, the indoor shooting range.
And that seems like a lot of money. For, I don't know. I envision indoor shooting ranges being wide open, and I'm sure there's more to it than that. That's what I see.
It also includes housing for our undercover units and our training department. It's not just a classroom, so it's a pretty big building.
The office,
Additional
whenever you
office
say housing,
evidence
And all
storage.
of our storage from undercover vehicles that are currently in Belton, and this will enable us to sell that building in Belton that's several $100,000 probably in property value that we've owned. So I've been here 15 years.
How secure does evidence storage facility have to be?
So there's different requirements. Our federal side has to be stored inside climate controlled. And it could be indefinite. We could store it. State side can be stored outside. But this also, without showing you the pictures, this has the ability to store, I think there's 15, is that an 8 in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, just below that is all of our indoor storage. I believe there's 10 or 12 bays where we can actually store all of our vehicles inside and climate control for our federal
You said
regulations that we have.
now we're parking in Dalton.
Yeah, we have a building that was seized in conjunction with the federal system what, 15 years ago. Were you? I don't know if you were
Long
here.
time
It's
ago.
been a while. I was in
Yeah,
charge of it for a long time. It was an old record yard.
On Avenue Road.
Yes, right next to the comm center. And it's a long ways for us to drive, so this will be ideal for Abbott. It's not just the classrooms, there's. And it gets our undercover people a little bit farther away from the police department, so they're not seen going in the back lot, which is pretty important.
Yeah.
About to know we have a building.
Yes, they answer our alarm calls because it's got mice and stuff in it, so they answer our alarm calls on a regular basis.
And when Buford tried to enter,
And Buford tries to kick open the door. Yeah.
How big is that building, square footage? I know you said it was big.
The range, the one that's on the top of the thing is 10 lane range, so it's pretty wide. It also has a FATS room or a
we're in Austin.
virtual reality room and a full padded room where we can, about this size probably, where we can do defensive tactics.
We're still in.
I don't know the square footage.
It's gonna, yeah, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it is. I think it's roughly 25,000 square feet.
All of this is additional parking as well. So 7 is additional parking.
No, that's the existing.
9 and 8 is additional parking.
That's correct.
7's existing parking. right?
Seven.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
seven's
sorry,
existing.
7 is existing.
Existing
yes.
But is 8 open for other people to use, or is that closed?
No, that
off?
one's completely closed off and gated, so our undercover people and patrol officers can park back there. It's mainly for the undercover so they can get out of sight and get into the building
So there's
safely.
9 or extra spots. But if the people work.
There'll be probably maybe 12 to 15 people out there working full time.
How many are with the current facility in Belton working?
I'm sorry.
That's
Or is this
just
just
Trade
storage?
storage.
Just
private storage,
Yeah.
so.
because the increase in capability at the new place, it will require increased employment.
That one, we go out there about once a week to check on the vehicles. There are a couple homicide vehicles out there that just have to be checked on periodically for evidentiary purposes.
The employment related to this facility, the staffing is not directly, I mean, there will be a couple of training officers, but we're moving 2 units from downtown because we're running out of space downtown. So it's not to staff this, it's so that they have permanent office space
That's correct.
at this facility, both to provide, additional space for the as we're adding officers, we are running out of space in downtown headquarters, and then there's some strategic reasons why you wouldn't want your undercover
Oh,
officers.
no, I totally get that.
So these are not, the staffing associated with this is primarily not related to the training facility. They will just be permanently housed here versus in the downtown
Okay.
headquarters. Just as a reminder of what facility we're replacing there on the left. We are in desperate need of an upgrade, and then some pictures on the right from what has been done so far from the master plan, which is the top picture is the simunition house there that is complete and has already been put into use by both police and fire. And then the covered trailer storage for fire down there on the bottom right, and then some of the additional classroom space that was able to be constructed as part of the simunition house as well. Additional funding for future fire station sites is also recommended and the bond issuance. As council knows, we have recently acquired the site for the proposed relocation of Station 7. We have the property for Station 9, but we have a total our master plan shows the need for 14 total stations. So I think, and from my perspective, it is important to be proactive in the acquisition of property for these future stations. So we both have it where we need it, because as they say, when land is gone, it's gone. So it is my recommendation that we move forward securing sites for our additional stations that we have programmed in the future years.
What ones do we have 9, right?
We have 9.
Is that the only one we have that, well, 9 and 9 and new 7.
7, we have new 7, we have 9, and we probably have 11. You know, that's the North Industrial
Oh,
Park
yeah.
area. So depending on where we ultimately decide, you know, it's probably something that we have already between us or TEDC. The other locations we need to be acquired.
So 10, 12, 13, 14.
Yes, 4 more sites.
And those have to be acquired with cash. You
No,
can't-
this
you
is
can't-
a CO bond.
You can, okay. I'm getting my EDC requirements, I guess.
Yeah.
mixed up.
In fact, this is a CO bond that we're asking you to approve. That would include funding for these. Yeah.
Okay.
We are also recommending improvements as part of this CO package for 3 of our existing fire stations. Station 2, which is Avenue H, Station 4, which is Apache, and Station 6, which is Range Road. All of those stations need various additions or improvements to keep them operating at their best. Have a question? Okay. And then additionally, this package has funding, proposes funding for the replacement of engine number 2, which is a 2008 engine. Getting ready for TMRS retirement, as I like to say. We're also have funding for some facility upgrades at our downtown police headquarters. Both of the chillers in that building need to be replaced. They're original to the building, which is 20+ years old. So, yeah, it's 20 years old. It's more than 20 years old.
2005 is when we moved in the first time.
The first time, yes. And remember,
2010, the second time. I moved both times.
it's so nice we built it, but we did not replace the chillers when we built it the second time. So,
This
they're
was kind of
original.
new to me still.
I know it.
The package also proposes new additional parking for maintenance vehicles as part of our Parks and Recreation Department. So this is at the Parks Administration facility off of the interstate. You can see there's some existing facilities there, of course, but this is a proposed expansion to be able to bring all the vehicles into that area and have room for all of them as we continue to grow and add staffing to support the community.
So those are just canopies, the new future
Yes.
builds.
It is, yeah. It's covered, yeah, but similar to what's at the service center. Speaking of parking, we're also have an allocation proposed for expansion of parking at the solid waste complex for all the new trucks we will get one day.
Very optimistic.
June and July. And then finally, there are, council will recall that you have authorized some structural assessments for concerns that we have at the Salmons Community Center as well as the library parking garage area. So those assessments are underway, and we are recommending some placeholders in this bond package to address the improvements that we anticipate will be needed based on the completion of those assessments. For mobility, this is a total of $7.3 million, so a little bit smaller package here this time around. But there's still plenty of projects underway, but additional projects that we're that we're proposing for funding is, our share of the Georgetown Railroad Trail Phase 1B. As council will recall, we do have a grant, through K-Tempo, for, a good portion of this project. But we, do have a local share, and so this would provide that local share funding we need for that project.
Is that on that? Is that actually, we're leaving the rails and putting that concrete in between or?
Some places.
Yeah, there's a couple of different, sections, that where some of it is being replaced, but some of it can be preserved. We're also recommending, the next, I guess tranche, if you will, of funding for our, the mill and overlay portion of our pavement preservation program. So this is for, as council will recall, you established the operating budget pavement preservation program a couple of years ago, where we're building up to I think a $1.5 million annual allocation, or 1.75, I believe, annual allocation for slurry seal and other shorter term maintenance opportunities. But this is for the extensive maintenance that really extends the life of pavement to out an additional 20 years. So this is for the mill and overlay program. And then we have, this is the solid waste complex. We have a private road that comes from Avenue H that services that provides access for the solid waste complex, both the trucks, the administration building, and then also further down the city's tree farm and then Dozier Farms wastewater treatment plant. This road, just with the traffic that is generated from all of the trash trucks on the facility, it really needs some attention. It really probably should have been in the scope of the original solid waste complex construction, but it was not. So my recommendation is that we improve this road so that we have continued access for those especially our solid waste trucks to get into that facility. And then last but not least, our utility capital program. Again, this is not an action item for your consideration tonight, but will come soon. The major project this year is the expansion of Temple Belton wastewater treatment plant phase 2. That is a just shy of $70 million project total. This is a plant that we own jointly with the city of Belton. So the city of Temple is 75% owner, so our share of the project is estimated at $55 million. So a big price tag here, but this project is ready for bidding. I believe it is going to bid next week, begin bidding next week, and so this is a very significant project in this year's funding package proposal. We're also recommending funding for the Northwest transmission main project. This is also a fairly significant project proposed at just shy of $14 million. This is a big line. This is one of our 36-inch major transmission mains. This takes water from the water treatment plant up to 317. And then in conjunction with that, the next project on the list is the 317 ground storage and pump station. So that Northwest transmission main would connect to this proposed pump station and ground storage tank facility. So these two projects go hand in hand, and that is a $7.5 million project proposal. We also have recommendations for improvement to our conventional water treatment plant. As council will recall, we have just recently completed the expansion of the water treatment facility by expanding our membrane treatment plant. This expansion allows us to finally, I think for the first time in the history of our 1915, I believe is the first plaque on the wall at that water treatment plant. So quite an old facility here. So of course it's been upgraded and expanded over the years, but it has been it has always needed to be in operation continuously to provide water for our community. With the completion of the latest expansion to the membrane treatment plant, we are in times of lower water use able to rely exclusively on the membrane treatment plant and be able to take the conventional plant offline for some much needed major rehab and maintenance to that plant. So this is one of those such projects that you'll see over the course of the next several years as we take advantage of the opportunity to do some of these improvements. This is a $7.4 million project that would add settling basins and belt press to help us with our sludge handling there at the water treatment plant. Next project is a upsizing of the Northwest Little Elm wastewater line. This line provides service to clients in the North Industrial Park area. This is about a $3 million project.
We're funding 2 million of it, the reinvestment zone,
Is funding
1
one,
million.
yes.
1.3.
And then we have the rehabilitation of the FM 2483 elevated storage tank. And Mike, this is presents us with the opportunity to partner with our students out at Lake Belton High School and kind of have a fun mural painted on this water tower that would allow us to kind of celebrate the relationship between the fact that we have a Belton High School in the city of Temple in it. So our plan here, as this tank will go down for rehab this fall.
We can paint it blue and red and put big letters all the way around.
Or like going up the column.
At the top, so instead of kind of the traditional logo that we do, we're proposing that we
Council picture.
have a little fun, and we're.
Come on.
Can we do the one with the cigar if we're doing that?
Oh, my goodness,
This one.
everybody get, no. We are proposing, we have a little fun, we involve the students there at Lake Belton, not middle school, Lake Belton High School, and they'll work with our communications and marketing team, and we come up with a vision for the tank that will represent the kind of the two entities working together. So
Will that
something that
require
will.
council approval?
We need to bring Susan back.
If you give a little ground. I don't care.
We'll take a brown Bronco.
Move on.
We're also have an allocation in this bond issuance proposed for our water line upgrade program that would let us do routine upgrades and rehab throughout our system. This would be a $2 million allocation for rehab or pipe bursting projects on the water side. And then on the wastewater side, a allocation of $1 million for our manhole rehabilitation program that is a critical component in our overall strategy of reducing and eliminating sanitary sewer overflows in our system. So those are the projects that are on the docket for funding in those two bond issuances. And again, you do have action item associated with the mobility and facility and equipment program this evening, and then both bonds will come back at May 15th for your consideration. Those are just the highlights of the projects those aren't the highlights. Those are the projects that are in the proposal.
There are two chats up there. Buford wants you to know he did kick the door in. Then just tried to. Now Jason has remarks about the railroad.
I'm worried about his employment evaluation. Oh, no, I did kick it.
He's lucky we haven't served the warrant yet.
But you missed this meeting.
Right.
Yeah, betting the rail.
Yeah. Oh, he stayed on scene.
We'll have to,
Jason had a note up there about what I asked.
I'm I don't know that I'm in favor of removing the rails. I think maybe, I don't know if y'all have been to like that High Line in New York where you've got the trail, but then you've got some of the character of the existing railroad. So even if we don't, make it the trail system, perhaps we can find ways to preserve it. So it's kind of we'll work on that.
Some of it's in pretty bad shape, but
Yes. Yeah, I don't think, at least that particular amenity, it's not a continuous, preservation, but you have it in enough places that
Yeah.
it harkens back to the roots of the trail system. So I'm sure there'll be something that we can do that will allow us to keep some of the character without making it a maintenance issue. Look forward to that. Yeah, I think we all are. So that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions on any of that? That's a lot. That's a lot. Good though. All right,
And honestly, it's only a small portion of the it's kind of just the next round of what we need to kick off, so.
Oh, no, there. Okay, so we'll move on to item 4, which is, executive session. So at the time, council, and the time is, that this ain't at this time, at 20 minutes and Murray. 4:09. The time is 4:10. Council will move into executive session to receive and discuss a briefing regarding certain economic development projects pursuant to Texas Government Code 551087. City council will meet in closed session to discuss or deliberate commercial or financial information received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the city of Temple, and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to such a business prospect, in no final action will be